guys, Bernadette here with Purpose in a Stitch, and today I'm going to be walking you through the Join As You Go method for the Not Your Granny's Tee. I'll also be walking you through how to make the back panel and the front top panel for this pattern, but I have the granny square pattern as a separate tutorial on our YouTube page, which I highly recommend you check out before you dig into this tutorial. To get started, we're going to be using our US H crochet hook as well as some ZZ twist yarn. I'm going to be working in multiple colors for my pattern today, but feel free to work yours in one solid color if you prefer. So to get started, we're going to be taking our panel, which I've already started to join the granny squares to, as well as the start of a granny square, which we'll be joining to this square here. So this granny square just has not worked the final round, and we're going to just be starting right where we left off and join to the base of our panel right underneath this corner here. Into this stitch, we're going to insert our crochet hook, and we're going to pull up a slip stitch joining our unfinished granny square to the panel of granny squares that have already been joined. We're going to chain two, and we're going to start the final round of the granny square pattern as written by working 5 double crochets, and then where we usually work the chain 4, we're only going to chain 2, and we will join that chain 2 to the chain 4 of our panel. So this hole right here, we're just going to insert our crochet hook into this top stitch, and we're going to work another slip stitch, which will again help join the granny square that we are completing to the panel that we are wanting it to be affixed to. And we're going to chain 2 more, which is going to work as our chain 4 in the pattern that's written, and then we're going to continue this corner of this granny square by working 5 more double crochets. And then from here, we're going to actually just continue around the perimeter of our granny square as the pattern's written. So I'm going to speed things up just for the sake of time. And again, I just want to refer you to the granny square tutorial. If you have not already watched that, it'll walk you through these steps a little bit slower to help you better understand how to make the granny square if you were not doing it as a join as you go method. So once we get back towards that last corner that'll be closest to our panel, we're going to work our first 5 double crochets for that corner, and then we're going to chain 2 just as we had on that first corner that we were joining to the panel to, and we're going to work a slip stitch into the area where our 2 granny squares right here have been joined. So I just insert my hook right into that space and work a slip stitch, followed by a chain 2 and those last 5 double crochets into this chain 3 space. Once those last 5 double crochets are done, we're actually going to join our granny square to the other granny square panel right underneath that corner and chain 2. We're going to join one more time by inserting our hook in between the single crochet that is in between the chain 3s on the granny square pattern, and work a slip stitch there. From here we can cut our yarn and fasten off. Go ahead and leave the ends. I'll walk you through weaving those in later. And then once we have that, we're going to grab our next start of a granny square, and we're going to continue the same method by working our 5 double crochets, and then again the placement of our chain 4 is going to be broken up by chaining 2 and then inserting our hook in between the joins from the other squares. So we're going to just insert a hook there, chain 2 more, and then work 5 more double crochets into that chain 3 space. And from here, it's a simple matter of continuing this method throughout. So after each of our 5 double crochets, if we're joining to another granny square after the last 5 double crochet, we're going to want to make sure that we join at the base of the granny square opposite by working a slip stitch, and then a chain 2, which will be joining the 2 single crochets parallel each other. And it's important to note that when I'm joining the single crochets, I'm actually joining by working a single crochet, since that is the stitch that's located there on the granny square. I'm working slip stitches when I'm joining the 5 double crochet spaces because there is no stitch there in the pattern written. So if there's a single crochet mentioned in the granny square pattern, we'll be working a single crochet when we join. And if there's no stitch there, so for when we join the chain 4s right here, and when we join the chain 5s, then we will be working a slip stitch rather than a single crochet. So from here, we're going to continue working around this granny square. Again, just working as the granny square pattern is written. So we'll do the chain 2 and then the single crochet into the single crochet of the previous round, and then our 5 double crochet followed by 4 chain 4, and then 5 more double crochet, chain 2, joining the single crochet, and then we're going to start that last corner again just like we did on the previous square, working our 5 double crochet stitches into this last corner, and then our chain 2 to set up for the join of the corner on the panel right here where the other 2 granny squares are. And again, we're going to insert our hook just as we had on the previous square, working a slip stitch, chain 2 more, and then working 5 more double crochets into this chain 3. And then from here, it's just going to be a simple matter of repeating the process that we had on the last granny square. We're going to join this granny square in the same manner, and every other granny square that we make, we will be joining to the panel just as we had that first one. So for my panel, I'm going to be working 3 granny squares across by 3 granny squares across. So we're going to add in our last one right here, and that completes our granny square panel. So from here, I'm going to walk you through how to make the back mesh panel as well as the top mesh panel. These mesh panels are going to be worked in the same ZZ Twist yarn, and I'm going to be showing you the tutorial in purple yarn just because the white yarn wasn't showing up against my background, although later you'll see that those panels are made in white for my pattern. So we're going to just start by chaining the amount of stitches we need for our pattern, and then we're going to start by working a double crochet in the 4th chain from our hook, followed by a single crochet into that same chain. And we're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip 2, and in the 3rd chain from there we're going to work another double crochet, followed by another single crochet into that same chain space, and again work the chain 2 and skip 2. In the 3rd one, work a double crochet and a single crochet. And that sets us up pretty much for the entire pattern of this mesh back. We are going to be skipping 2, working a double crochet followed by a single crochet into the same space all the way across, and when we get to the final chain, we will be working that same double crochet and single crochet into that last chain space. Once we reach the end, we will turn our work and we will chain 3 and work a double crochet into the first single crochet, followed by a single crochet into that same single crochet space. Again, we're going to chain 2 and we're going to skip the chain 2 and the double crochet and work a double crochet into that single crochet from the previous row, as well as a single crochet into that same space. And we'll repeat this all the way across until we get to the very last single crochet, which again will work a double crochet and a single crochet, just as I'm sure you had guessed. We'll turn our work and continue this pattern throughout. So every single row we will be working into the single crochet spaces only, and working that double crochet, single crochet pattern until we reach the width we need for the top front panel as well as the back panel. So I'm just going to show you a small little swatch here so you can get the general idea of how to work that, but go ahead and finish making your front and top panel just as I have, and we're going to now join the back panel and the top front panel to our granny square. I'm going to start by joining the top front panel to my granny square panel. by using the mattress stitch. If you're unfamiliar with the mattress stitch, I will link to a video tutorial in my pattern notes, but that will be the main method of joining the back panel to the front panel of our granny square tee. So now that we have the front panel complete, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to start weaving in all the ends. If you've only worked your Not Your Granny's tee in one color, you'll have far less ends to weave in here, but I do recommend going through and weaving in the ends before you add the back panel, just because it makes them a little bit easier. They're not going to get in the way when you go to seam up the sides or the top to create the neck and the armholes. So once we're done weaving in all those ends, we will go ahead and grab our back panel and lay it on top, and then we're going to start by marking where our armhole sleeves and our neck opening is going to go with stitch markers. We will take the long tail from the back panel, and we're going to start on the outermost corner of the upper shoulder and mattress stitch out towards the inner part of your Not Your Granny's tee, which is where the neck hole will open. So we're going to just work towards that first stitch marker here, and once we reach the measurement outlined in the written pattern, we'll go ahead and fasten off the yarn, and we'll repeat this process on the other side to close the shoulders of the Not Your Granny's tee. And then from there we will work up the sides, which will leave the armhole openings on either side of our Not Your Granny's tee. So we're going to start at the bottom and work up towards the stitch marker on either side, and that will complete the Not Your Granny's tee. So here's our finished tee, and you can see that we have the armhole openings right here and the neck hole opening there, and we are all done. I hope you enjoyed making this Not Your Granny's tee, and if you do make one, I hope you'll share with us on social media. Happy crocheting!